World War III is near as Russia is militarizing rockets to take out U.S. satellites, leaving Amerca defenseless. For decades, the U.S. military and government denied that near space orbit was, or ever would be, a potential military battleground. The militarization of outer space was expressly forbidden by international law and treaty. However, it was at this time that America was busy reverse engineering Nazi technology from captured German scientists. The advancements in technology were amazing, e.g. vertical liftoff craft that could seemingly defy gravity. Meanwhile, the conventional military hailed the arrival of the Harrier head and its hovering ability. NASA was a front to deceive our enemies as well as the American public. Today, the militarization of space, although not described in detail, is no longer the absolute secret that it once was. China, Russia, India and the United States are all partaking in establishing the same level of aggression above, that is catching up to the violence levels below. Consequences of militarizing space. Consider the following quote regarding America's enemies militarizing space. Adversaries and potential adversaries are developing, and in some cases demonstrating, disruptive and destructive counterspace capabilities. Furthermore, they are exploiting what they perceive as space vulnerabilities, threatening the vital, national, civil, scientific and economic benefits to the U.S. and the global community. Russia's 2010 military doctrine emphasized space as a crucial component of its defense strategy, and Russia has publicly stated they are researching and developing counterspace capabilities to degrade, disrupt and deny other users of space, Haney said, adding that Russia's leaders also openly assert that Russian armed forces have anti-satellite (ASAT) weapons, conduct ASAT research and employ satellite jammers, stated Admiral Cecil D. Haney, commander of U.S. Strategic Command, as he told an audience at the Center for New American Security on January 22, 2016. It was also just announced that Russia is launching 16 delivery missions into space over the next few months. These rockets can be used to do anything from scientific research to serving in the role as a satellite killer. However, this pales in comparison to what the Daily Mail is releasing regarding the intentions of India along these lines. The Daily Mail has stated that India is launching a rocket that will release 104 satellites at one time. The military significance of this event cannot be overstated. India is aligned with the BRIC nations, formed in opposition to U.S. economic dominance, in which China and Russia are their allies. And as I have previously noted, Brazil is participating in space activities with the Russians. If the U.S. loses control of its satellites, it will lose the military advantage on the ground, in the air and at sea. America's military forces are numerically inferior. America's military needs over-the-horizon (OTH) radar to be an effective fighting force. OTH is one of the cornerstones of military advantage enjoyed by the majority of American military forces. Many of the consequences related to the development of this technology are located here. China has demonstrated advanced killer satellite technology. China has also entered the near-Earth orbit space wars adventures as they have previously attacked defunct U.S. satellites. Further, they temporarily blinded, presumably with their killer satellites, and surfaced a submarine within the middle of a carrier task force, which cost a carrier task force commander his command. Related Russian development. In a related story, the Russians are also surveilling our submarines with spy ships. Why? Because they have very little defense against both the payload and stealth maneuvering abilities. There is no doubt that these war preparations are only among the first to surface, and as the conflict draws near, we will be hearing a lot more of Russia's controversial war preparations. Conclusion. Warfare is reaching a whole new level. America's enemies are beginning to reach a level of the technological sophistication that was never dreamed possible prior to recent history. The consequences and intentions of America's adversaries are concerning, as the total sum movement of these developments clearly demonstrates that America's enemies are posturing for war and are intending on cutting the head off of the American snake by taking out the command and control of the U.S. before launching a first strike. And that strike would likely be nuclear and domestic. On a concluding side note, some ask me why I believe that former President Obama was a traitor to this nation. In the last 3 years of his office, he permitted the Chinese and the Russians to participate in the Rimpak war games, which were designed to counter the Russian and Chinese threat. In other words, he showed our enemies our capabilities so they could be negated by them at a later date. That date is arriving very quickly.